No build, no guard to build, only the whetstone that is two men glancing off each other's intent. The only grief a muscle feels is the light touch of air, of nothingness. And when worlds are built out of collision, the violence of a collision is how we begin to dictate what matter is. What will matter to us, our bodies, when faced with the expectation that there can only be red separateness. And then, speaking of our animal nature, trapped to the echo in our heads, banging to be released against an opponent whose name we will never actually remember, whose name will vanish the same as moisture in the air, not in flight, not in direction. Sort of studying and reading the fight led me to study a lot of things about Korean culture and things like that, and try to understand the individual a little bit. And there's a Korean word, good day. It means hope. So this is good day. Take part in the existence of good day, of hope, of the violent parade of self-sacrifice years ago when poverty was all 15 rounds of every day. Mother was always marrying because men can provide the answer when dedicated to the bell of the family. When they die, and they always die, what follows is empty, like a belly with only tea cascading against the thinning walls of pride. Oh, to have a son, a glorious son, a champion, to have that son die before the real money came, that was expected. So was her final decision. Two right hands his head could not bear. Awake, beating and beaten. If we knew, if Ray knew it was actually the third blow, the kickback of his skull to the canvas that took the pain away from Kim, took the light from his lungs and replaced it with roots. The trouble of what we do with our muscles away from the field, when the battle is bloody theater. Would that lessen the lesions if we could tell a story that ended without a feeling of contagion? Kim gave an interview when he was in the hotel, and there were a lot of sort of mythology that came from his time before the fight. But there was a Korean reporter on the plane when he landed, and when he saw Reno, because the fight was in Reno, they built a stadium for this fight. He looked out the airplane and remarked, "This is just like heaven." Wow. Kim remarked about the casino lights, his eyes tired from the plane ride, focused just enough to see the glow of something else, something more than a palace to be buried in. "This is like heaven," he said, "and I imagine many things can be like heaven so near the trickster gods of Nevada." But he believed. He repeated that belief so many times that death was going to splash the pot in the ring Caesars had built for Mancini to break in with the young Korean's blood. It was like heaven to see those trained bodies strain, to put their violent episode into context. But in the desert, only one man sees the promised land with any real conviction. So in the book, there are two different sequences. Obviously, I did a poem for each round. And then I did a sort of a crowd sequence of a bunch of poems talking about, because it's a big deal, a prize fight. Bill Cosby was in the audience, Sinatra was there, everyone who's performing up in Vegas came to Reno, and so it was littered with people dressed for the big night out. So it was sort of an odd contrast to have that crowd witness a man get killed. The crowd, number one. The country must have been thrilled to watch the sacrifice, the weekend animal thrown in the ring, cast upon the sea of other flesh, of cheering hands of half-humans, watchers. Fools of the moon waiting for the son of the Korean to crash into the desert, demanding that his face be made out of papier-mâché. It was made out of bone. That thing protruding from his face was a jawbone. From above, the cameras which brought the rest of us into the arena, you can see them begin to cloud, as if this sort of display was even too much for the machines. Their electric bouncing made emotional by the tenderizing of such human meat, such swollen agendas bought to be enjoyed, that rattle shake, that shuttle shake of death's favorite call, the needless song of because we can do such. The crowd, number 4. Violent, dark, the dirge of so many faces with exposed teeth is enough to shake the organ, to rouse the angels from the dirt, from the desert, where they were waiting in the drift of sand for another man to lift them past the bold stadiums, past the collection of races, of so many examples of human wreckage, all stomping to overtake the arcade of the hymnal. From those roads, the cities welcome no men of peace. They weighed exactly a half-pound apiece. Obviously, they've got to reach a certain weight to fight. So this is 134 1/4 pounds, which is what Kim weighed before the fight. His own lion, awfully he charged straight to give Mancini a god he would need, and for all but one image, I always picture Kim a postcard champion, a visual of the beasting with the smell of blood all about. He never recognized the strength of Mancini. He only lost his own power as the rounds piled on top of his heart. Flattened, he still rose to the fruit of fumes, willing to learn it all if he could find new facts in the old rags of harmony, the new rags of death, the dress of a man who showed up complete, arrowed to his destiny. There was a mistranslation. Everyone got excited after the fight when they found out that he was scrawling in Korean, kill or be killed. There was a big report that came out and said, well, he wasn't going to stop. He was going to get killed or he was going to win. It turns out that they mistranslated the Korean, and it said, live or die. And you can take it maybe even the same way. He was going to live as a champion or he was going to die. But the mythology that grew up around Kim in this fight is sort of epic. It makes sense that it took place in the desert where no other cities are around. It was that sort of showdown. So this is no good punch. Every reach for flesh was replaced by flesh, taken the constant exchange, of which left only pulpy mountains of men, blindly trading death for more death. From each corner, how did they return? Read one more of these. Round 3. And then I've got one final sequence to read. Too far, all ready to know if there are roads back home, and caught again. A man in action, staying in action so long, there is only offense. And offense, the layering of brick walls building behind each step, each launch of shoulder, each twist of murderous fist, landing too far, all ready to know if home still exists.